I'm still on the fence. I play a lot of Undying. I still haven't touched him this patch, and I don't feel like touching him. Mainly because his main weakness with his kit is that past laning phase, you're just kind of there. You have impact, yes, but if you're behind, then you're really not going to be doing as much as you'd expect. With his ult, of course, he can do a bit more. He can be that tanky frontliner now and really be a nuisance for the enemy team. But overall, I think his main weaknesses are still there. We'll see how Adroit does play around that. TNC, they picked themselves up the Chen. Now, this hero has been popping in and out quite a fair bit, and it is still quite effective, especially with the jungle changes. You can get a lot more going for yourself with a Chen. A lot of that early aggression can come out as well when you get a good creep. So
10
we'll see how
seconds
exactly
remaining.
TNC maximizes his pick. I already like this lineup from TNC
5
just a bit more.
seconds remaining.
Adroit, they've got the Undying, great laning presence early on, sure. They've got the puck, really slippery hero, hard to deal with. LC just scales up quite fast. But they look like they do lack a bit of control in the laning phase, and they definitely need to find a support to really tie it in for them with this Undying. Unless it's going to be a core Undying, which I wouldn't be too surprised, but I also kind of feel like it's not the best choice right now.
Certainly not. Adroit, fourth pick for them now. They do require another support unless they run the position 4 puck. I highly doubt that. What do you go for here? You know both supports already there from TNC. And that Chen may have put a bit of a spanner in the works here for Adroit. So you do have to play against just around the Chen. You can't really ignore it. They will use quite a bit of reserve time for this fourth pick. I wonder, I mean, do you go for the lifestealer again for Natsumi? Like, he had a pretty good game to start.
You could. I mean, you have a natural vehicle in the puck this time instead of the Tusk. That could work
Uh-oh.
out. They go back to the gyro.
Yeah, you
I
don't
mean,
like this at all. I don't like it at all. I don't see the point of this.
well, we've seen the hero come out even in this patch, and I could understand in the last patch. It was still a stable core despite all the nerfs. I think in this patch, but how much the game has changed, I think Gyrocopter
10
has taken a
seconds
step back.
remaining.
I don't think it's an amazing hero as it is right now. I think the stats do reflect
5
that. I think
seconds remaining.
overall in the qualifiers so far, across all qualifiers, I think he has something like a 48% win rate, something close to that. So it's not completely terrible, but it's not as game winning as it once was when you instantly pick that gyro. It's going to be an interesting run here for Adroit.
Radiant team
It
back.
does look a bit greedy, but again, the game has kind of allowed greed to seep in. TNC, they pick up the Void, and we talk about the issues with the Void earlier on, but we saw Raven play amazingly at it. I think TNC is the exact same kind of team. They can play around that Chronosphere cooldown quite well, so I don't think that Chronosphere is going to be a massive issue. They should be able to try to find
10
that farm.
seconds
If a
remaining.
droid can apply that pressure with their early presence with the Undying, with the
TNC
Gyrocopter,
predators
it
turn to
would be hard for the
battle.
Void to farm up. But TNC, they've got the Lina, they've got the Venge, they've got the Chen to help this Void out. So it's going to be a hard task to slow down the Void in this game. But it's already an interesting clash of cores here. Gyrocopter online much more often, but really kind of left behind in this patch. Whereas Void has gotten a few changes and
10
is
seconds
still highly
remaining.
effective because he has that massive teamfight control that you can always rely on.
5 seconds
Absolutely.
remaining.
One more ban, though, before both teams finish off these drafts. We saw the Magnus ban coming out from Adroit. TNC. You thinking here? It does seem like Adroit, they are probably going to run the mid park. You'd imagine the last pick of Adroit would be a support, unless again you run that support puck, which is still viable. I believe we may have seen it yesterday.
Could be an offlane puck as well. That is an option there for Adroit.
TNC predators
Well,
turn
they
to
seem to
kick.
believe it will be a support puck,
Radiant team
perhaps.
picked.
They do ban out the Invoker. They'll pick up the Mirana once again. So, is this a Tim's Mirana? Is this a Mid Mirana? I doubt it's mid Mirana, right? It should be a mid laner. Perhaps an offlane Venge we're seeing from KP?
I mean, could go either way. That's one of the things with TNC's draft. It's very flexible. I mean, we've even seen the offlane Chen before, so that's an option if they want to do that. Adroit, they close out. Oh my god. Okay, they go with a
They did
Brood.
it. They did it to
All right.
TNC. Uh-oh.
Okay. See that one I'm a bit wonky on, mainly because TNC they do have ways of clearing out those spiderlings early on. Lena does a fantastic job. Venge drops her armor quite a fair bit. Mirana can clear them out quite well as well. So you've got these tools to deal with the massive unit spawn that is gonna come out of Adroit. But Adroit, if they get that snowball start, if they start clearing out those objectives, with the lineup they have, which comes online really fast, they can start to shut down TNC from the early game. So I like the shakeup from Adroit. It is much more focused on that early to mid game. They want to take those objectives fast. They want to apply pressure from the laning phase straight up without them dying. And that might make all the difference here for Adroit. TNC, it's a bit more of a standard draft. They've got some timings to play around. They've really got to make sure Gabby has a good time on that Void, and Gabby has to make sure he uses those Chronospheres as soon as they're up.
It'll be interesting. Now, Adroit does manage to pull this off. Of course, Mac being up against Mel and the Lena. I imagine Armel won't have too much issues clearing out those spiderlings from the Brood. Shouldn't be too much of an issue. We'll find out though. The game should be starting pretty soon. TNC, one game ahead so far. They're trying to 2-0 the side of Adroit. Adroit definitely want to try and tie out this series if they possibly can. TNC, I'm not 100% sure, but I believe they still do have the ability to get kind of in the middle of the bracket for these group stages of the closed qualifiers.
Yeah, definitely. They've still got a pretty solid chance to shove themselves up there. Of course, they really would like to go to the majors instead of having to fight through the minors to get in there. So every win counts, TNC. They want to close this out, but it's much more pertinent for Adroit to secure this tie. If they don't, it's a harder road for them to pull back out of that lower spot in this group.
Well, we'll get into it. We'll find out how they do perform in this game number 2. Adroit certainly not going to roll over for the side of TNC. But still, I'd love to see how this gyrocopter does turn out, because again, we've talked about it. It does seem so weak in this patch. We'll see if Natsumi has a bit of a game plan for this. They might even run a tri-lane for Natsumi just to make sure he can secure as much farm as possible, because it does seem so important for these gyros now. You should be able to just keep Bok in the offlane by himself as that Legion commander anyway. He has so much sustain on this hero. KP gonna say hello. Arrow going out from Tims, but it doesn't connect. Now homing missile will follow KP. They will connect that orb. Didn't really hit, but KP looking to get pretty darn low, and this is gonna be first blood going to the way of Adroit.
Yeah, that's a great start for Adroit. A bit of a wonky fight coming out from TNC. They did not time the arrow or the missile quite well there, and that does cost them. KP not gonna be glad about that. Already a bit of a rough time for him. I mean, he had a rough time last game, right? He went 0-4 in lane, 0-5 in the laning phase, and he definitely wants a better performance than that this time around.
Well, it's going to be a 2-for-2 trade on the bounties, so an even start in that regard. So far, they are going to maintain this tri-lane. That puck does hit so darn hard, just with the right clicks alone. CML there with the decay. It's going to be a rough lane for TNC once again. Still though, you look up to that top lane. I mean, while Bok won't really die too easily, Gabby shouldn't really struggle finding any sort of farm in the safe lane either.
Yeah, there's no way you apply enough pressure to make the Void uncomfy enough. On top of that, you have March there watching out for him anyway, so it's going to be very hard for Bok to really apply as much pressure as he'd want. The best thing he can do is just try to get some farm for himself by getting these pulls going.
Bok going to go for the pull straight off the bat. March will try to punish a little bit, but won't really be able to do too much up against Bok. Of course, looking over to that mid lane, Mel and Mac going up against each other. Mac gonna need a few levels before he can really start to snowball with this Broodmother. But Armel shouldn't have too many issues clearing out those waves of Spiderlings with the Dragon Slave and LSA. See how well Mac can micro those Spiderlings though.
That wasn't too bright.
I may be faceless, but I'm not maceless.
TNC already starting with the old chat.
KP.
KP going down once again. CML and Boomy just chasing him down, and Tims wasn't actually around the area at the time to help out. He's trying to farm up the jungle. It's going to be the second death for KP, and fortunately looking to be a bit of a repeat of what happened in Game 1 to him. Not that it mattered in Game 1, but it's going to be rough. This tri-lane won't really get any easier as time goes on either.
Nah, definitely not. You just... For all the faults in the Droid's draft, they really are quite strong this laning phase. You already see CML's presence has been a massive nuisance for KP. He hasn't been able to contest Natsumi's farm at all. Natsumi, level 3, KP still stuck at level 1.
We've seen this before. KP needs one creep to hit level 2, but it looks like he won't be getting that anytime soon. In fact, they're just trying to contest over those jungle creeps. Even the Chen creep just there from the side of TNC to help out with this jungle. And KP will be able to hit level 2 off that. Still though, no shutting down Natsumi on this gyrocopter, who's basically free farming right now.
Yeah, the big issue here for TNC is that last time KP was shafted, you kind of saw Adroit kind of shaft Bok, but this time around Bok is doing just fine in his offlane. He's finding some farm, he's getting EXP. Very different story from what KP is going through down here.
Still a concern though, right, that Gabby is free farming on the Void. I mean, he's second in last hits, only second to his own laner. Adroit's not really paying the respect to Gabby on this Void, it seems like.
Yeah, we have seen what happens when you give a Void free farm, and I'm sure Gabby can, put out the same performance we saw from Raven. It's just heroes like this that they tend to play quite well on, so you don't want to give Gabby this much space at the same time. You really want a good start in the gyro. I think that's a bigger issue here, is that gyrocopter just needs that excellent start, especially with, again, how the patch has kind of treated him. You want the gyro to just have that good start.
Well, there's Tims once again. He will find a courier, this time in the mid lane. Mac did manage to get his soul ring before that courier died anyway, so he's not going to mind too much. But that does mean that Armel can harass the hell out of Mac and ensure he can't bring any regen out. So Armel's going to be a little careful about those Spiderlings as well. But he will just commit the Dragon Slave and Mac will have to force them back.
Oh, KP. Tier 2s.
Being
Just
forced.
deep dive there.
Yeah, it's a very deep dive indeed. There is a TP coming in from Tims to try and help out. It looks like CML doesn't plan to back off anytime soon on the Undying. You still see Boomy looping around behind in the dire side jungle. You can get Armel, but Armel is quite healthy on the laner. They may just go for a bit of a fight over these 5-minute bounty runes. Let's spot out March on the Chen. Tims does manage to take at least one of those bounty runes down at the bot lane. It will be a 2-for-2 trade in the end at the 5-minute mark though. So both teams finding an equal trade. Nothing too special happening, no fights either.
I have to say the impact of March's Chen has been less than I expected. I expected a bit more in and out with jungle creeps. He is focusing on just kind of building up for himself now, which is fair enough. We've seen a lot of Chens really do this as well. It is really slowing down the progression for TNC on the side lane. So again, you have Gabby just 1v1ing up against Bok, which is fine. But Gabby should be able to find his farm, but you're not slowing down the LC. Then down bot, you have issues with your off lane. This tri lane is just kind of starving every single hero of EXP, while the opposing core just finds free farm. So all of these moves are kind of building up towards something, but it's a slow start for TNC for sure.
Booming, gonna orb out of there. KP has hit the level 3 mark now, so got a few levels on this Venge. Problem is that Natsumi is at level 5 now on the Gyrocopter. In terms of net worth, is at the top of the board, so this free farm definitely paying off so far for Adroit. TNC really have no way to shut him down. Looks like they'll just have to be comfortable with leaving him be. Speaking of, Mac, mid lane, going after Armel, but March is there to help out. Mac is falling somewhat low, and there's a Dragon Slave to drop him even lower. But he will manage to get the hell out of there. And it looks like he'll have to relegate himself back into the jungle for a bit. This Brood hasn't farmed the best so far. 2.6k net worth. Wouldn't say this is really the best Brood game so far. I mean, he hasn't really found a tier 1 tower either yet. We still are very early in, but it just seems like this Brood into the Lina pick. Not sure if it's going to end up paying off for them.
Yeah, it's a rough one, right? It's always going to be a rough time for Mac, I think, especially with that Lina. They are holding out, and we have seen some slow Brood starts that tend to build up anyway. And Mac isn't exactly shut out just yet, so he has some room to get himself going, especially if he hits a good timing on the Aghanims.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
That's exactly what he's rushing for. Meanwhile, you look back up to that top lane, and Bok and Gabby are just trading farm once again. Gabby, of course, is quite further ahead on the Void, but Bok's not really going to mind too much. He's got level 6 now, almost level 7. Should be able to join these engagements with his team very, very soon. But bot lane, the T1 is being pushed in. March is still there with KP, trying to slow them down, but they are chipping away at it. Looks like this T1 will be down sooner than you know it.
Radiant's courier has been killed.
Like Tim's gonna find another courier. This time he takes Bok's courier away. They've actually left Mac alone for a bit, so he will go straight after that T1, but no, Armel will clear out all the spiderlings that he had. Mac will have to start all over.
Yeah, not only that, but you do have the travels up on Armel now. So he's going to be much more present around the map. He's going to be able to just jump in and out to refill his bottle as needed. And that's just going to make it that much harder for Adroit to find presence on this map.
It's a real concern, but even just those spiderlings giving that gold away to Armel, it clearly has added up. He's 400 gold ahead of the Gyrocopter, who had complete free farm. Mac gonna try and go in again, but it's gonna be more spiderlings being fed the way of Armel, though he will dive the T1. It won't lead to anything, though. And Armel will probably get some more spiderlings now, and yeah, he does.
Gabby just survives a 4-man rotation, a 3-man rotation.
That's even worse for Adroit. Just not able to find those kills. It looks like the duel was committed by Bok for that. Now TNC may try to turn this one around. It's Tim's. Has the arrow, looking to set up. Gabby will loop around. He has the chrono. It's a pretty nice position, and he will go for him as well. Finds 2 straight off the bat. March is there with the follow-up damage. They'll lose Boomy straight off the bat. The arrow, though, not connecting from Tim's. Still, though, Bok is a sitting duck, and he cops the Laguna to the face. The outpost will be taken by the side of TNC, and that'll be 2 outposts their way, as KP took the other one down at the southeast spot. And Adroit, I mean, on the bright side, they gave space for Mac to take the mid T1. I really don't know if it's going to matter too much this game, though.
Yeah, you've given TNC a way back in, especially under side lanes. Like KP finally hits his level 6. He's got some space to farm up for himself now as well. So he's starting to build back up. We've seen this happen before, where KP, after a rough start, going 0 to 4, 0 to 5, just suddenly bounces back in. And it looks like TNC is set to have that happen once again. KP is getting a bit too much space down bot, but, you know, most people would just kind of ignore the Venge. I don't blame Adroit for that kind of mindset, just trying to find farm and slow down the map elsewhere. But they are negating that great lead they had with Natsumi now, because KP's just caught up.
Looking at Mac, he's chasing Tims now on the Mirana. Almost finds the kill, and he will actually get it in the end. March, I think he may have actually blocked Tims in the tree line with one of those creeps. Not 100% sure on that one, but it did look that way. Still though, 3-2 now. 2k net worth lead remaining for the side of TNC. Their farm still escalating quite well. I mean, Armel almost 6.3k now. Gabby at 5.2. Mac is also at 5.3 on the Broodmother, but if you don't get some amazing starts on the Brood, she tends to not really be a hero throughout that mid to late game. And I'm not sure if Mac's gotten the start he really needed to be a big presence here.
Yeah, it's not quite there yet. It's building up. Still gotta wait for that Ags to come out, and still gotta wait for Adroit to start building around this Broodmother and the aggression they could pump out. But as of yet, not. It's definitely not quite there yet. They are trying to posture for top lane once again. Gabby is all alone, so it's 3 heroes once more, although March is around the area this time.
Well, he'll have Chrono in about 20 seconds. If they can buy the time, they could get a massive team fight out of this. Gabby will show himself, and it looks like just his presence alone will force Adroit to back off. Now Tims and March will show themselves as well. Still going to remain in that top lane, but they aren't finding the T1 that they wanted. Mac will find himself a mango tree.
I wonder if he's going to plant that at the right spot.
I mean, you'd imagine he would go for the Roshan plan, right? Like, it just seems too powerful to not do that.
I mean, with a hero like Brood as well, that just gives you so much control of that area. You could really just start playing it onto the Roche quite safely early on.
The bot lane, they have found KP on the Venge, and he should drop though. No, the March heal is there, and KP, he survives for just a bit. He does eventually go down, but Armel will find a double kill. A great turnaround, and it's all just thanks to having that outpost. They were all able to rotate down and help him out. Now Gabby has the Chrono, doesn't need to use it though. He's just hoping for a bash onto CML and does find one. Time Walk will be there, finds another bash, and that'll be the death of CML.
Yeah, that's unfortunate for Adroit. That is going to be their tier 1 going down as well. They are going to try to apply some pressure on the top tier 1 of TNC. It's not the same pushing with an LC though.
Definitely not. KP will be going up there to defend. They're certainly losing this bot T1 though, it looks like. But no, maybe Tims won't be able to get the job done as Boomy does come in to defend that one. The top lane, the fight is breaking out as Bok has gone way too far and does end up going down. And Gabby with this extremely fast Maelstrom is seemingly going to make a lot of work happen in this game. I mean, he had that Maelstrom around 12 minutes.
Yeah, it's just about as good as Raven's timing on his Midas. But you have a lot more utility from that item here, as you need a way of clearing out those Broodlings, you need a way of clearing out those summons. The Maelstrom's going to do that for you quite well. It still accelerates your farm quite nicely and gives him a lot more presence in these early fights. So I like that pickup from Gabby. He has been working it quite well. That's going to give them the tier 1 up top now. But you are seeing Adroit posture down bot.
Well, they dream call up Tims. Tims should just be dead here, but Armel trying to help him out. Still, he couldn't quite do so. They will find that bot T1 tower. Of course, Gabby was able to find the top T1.
My thrift rewarded.
So 5-6, 2k net worth lead still remaining for the side of TNC. Natsumi on the gyrocopter. Trying to go for that Sergeant Yasha now. He just picked up the drums. It's still not the fastest process in the world for Natsumi. Like, considering the start he has fallen behind in net worth. And it just doesn't seem like he's able to keep up with the side of TNC. Adroit though, they'll go for one of those outposts, take the northwest one. They start posturing again around that top tier 1 tower, but they are ready to defend on the side of TNC. They'll have at least 2 supports there. Can they defend though with just these supports? Doesn't look like they will be able to in CML. He'll drop a tombstone down. KP looking to take it out straight away, and now the rotations come in. Gabby, he goes straight after the Chrono and does find 2 in it. First Boomy goes down, then Bok goes down as well, and he's looking for even more. He won't quite find anything, although maybe he will. There's a spider in the tree line right now. Gabby won't chase any further. They lost the tier 1 tower, but they get 2 kills out of it. That's not too bad for the side of TNC.
Definitely so. That's a nice little set of kills going the way of TNC. I'm sure they don't mind losing that tier 1 as much. And they already took the tier 1 in the opposite end anyway, so now the outpost is just going to be a bit of a toss-up as to who rotates more often up top. Not going to be an easy time for either side. It's also really nice to take note that Gabby does have the Imp Claw now, so he has a guaranteed crit every 10 seconds, and that's a good amount of damage being boosted up here that allows him to find these early Chrono kills even faster.
Absolutely. Especially if you get the bash proc on the crit. Always been nice. Looks like the Mjolnir will be up pretty darn soon for Gabby as well. In fact, I think he has it coming out right now. Oh, that's just a ward.
Regeneration.
Adroit, smoked up. Where do you go though? They'll loop around up towards that top lane where March will be with KP. No, they'll change their minds. They're heading towards the mid lane now. Armel though has a Shadow Blade up, so he could just break the smoke. Looks like it won't even matter anyway. The smoke is about to wear off. They're looping around now to that bot lane where they find Tim's. Natsumi will find the courier of March and will take it out, but Tim should be able to get out of there safely. In fact, he throws an arrow out, but he's still around the area. He'll have to leap out and TP, and that's exactly what he does. It looks like Adroit will just have to settle for taking back that outpost.
Yeah, unfortunately not the best use of the smoke. They surely were looking for a kill there. But TNC is just playing really defensively. It's 5-8, 2k lead for TNC, not a big amount. But they are taking their time here. They understand that as this game goes on, they can build up on their Void. You do have to kind of worry about that Brood getting a bit big. I mean, yeah, let's face it, like, Mac is not really shut out. He's just about 300 gold behind that Lina. So he has ways to really be a nuisance in this game again. He's had his Ags for a while. And he's working towards his Diffusal next. So he still has room to really be a menace here.
Well, meanwhile, it looks like the Gyrocopter changed his item build, so rather than going for the Sergeant Yasha, he's opted to go for the Aghanim Scepter first. See how that pans out for him. TNC, currently in the Moonlight Shadow. They can see Adroit. Gabby, he has the Chrono. Does he find a big one? Oh, he only gets one. Still, it is the Gyrocopter, though. Can he burst him down fast enough? Not quite. Natsumi will be okay. And in fact, they found Bok on the Legion Commander. Armel gets that kill, and now Max gone as well on the Broodmother. So even with I would argue, a bad Chrono, they still managed to find a 2-for-0 trade for the side of TNC. And I believe Armel may have got some dual damage. In fact, he did.
Yeah, that's not the best science here for Adroit. That was a less than optimal Chrono. It's just that TNC is that much stronger at this point. They had better positioning there. They were set to be aggressors there. And it does pay off in the end. They will be able to take the Roche for free. And I actually don't see the mango tree planted anywhere. I'm not sure where that one went.
Just gone, John.
That's disappointing.
It is. It literally is just gone. Nobody has it. Fair enough. Tims. Gonna find Boomy down to the bot lane. Does get used up. There is a Dream Call there from Boomy, but he doesn't commit it quite yet. Does get the silence off, and now the Dream Call will come out, and this should just be an easy kill onto Tims. They will find it. Unfortunately, those CMLs the one to take it on the Undying. is not really how you want to split that gold from Tim's, but still, they do find the kill regardless. Only problem is, though, mid lane, Armel finds Mac on the Brood.
Yeah, that's really not what you want to be seeing at this point. 21 minutes in, Broodmother's at 3rd place in net worth. They haven't really melted all the towers you'd want a Broodmother to melt at this point. And as that clock keeps ticking, the effectiveness of that hero starts to dwindle. And there's only so much you can do with a Brood as you approach that late game.
Well, Gabby gonna go after Bok. No chrono, but may not even need it as the swap is there from KP and the magic missile. Now the LSA, they've just controlled him up and he just goes down. Now Gabby, he'll go after CML on the Undying and just rips him apart as well. Boomy gonna get caught out, it looks like. He'll dodge the stun, but it doesn't matter as Armel's on a triple. And it's just turning into a very one-sided game now for TNC as they're going after the tier 3 tower now at 22 minutes in. And I don't believe Adroit can actually stop them from doing this.
No, they definitely can't. I mean, Armel is 9-0 right now. He's had an excellent run down mid. They do buy back. They're going to try to defend.
Well, swap is there on Natsumi. Now the chrono straight away. The gyrocopter is just gone. No buyback available on Natsumi. That'll mean at least a mid-rax being taken here for TNC. They're going to try and defend it, looks like KP. He'll throw out a magic missile on CML. They have thrown the dream call out as well. Mac, who are you going for? He's trying to find a target, but they're just essentially kiting him around. Gabby now fighting CML on the Undying, and no, never mind, just go for Mac instead. They'll burst down the Broodmother. CML now just trying to run the hell out of there. Armel finding a secondary onto Bok. Now they'll find Boomy, and that's GG well played. TNC, this is more like the TNC we know, John.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, that performance from Armel, 11-0, not dying even once. Just absolutely excellent plays from him, but TNC overall, they found their way back in. They run a draft that they're much more comfy with. They run heroes that they're much more comfy with, and they do manage to take it to Adroit. Adroit, they had a good showing in game 1. It wasn't enough. They do lose out in the series. That does give TNC a bit of room to breathe as they pull up in groups. Unfortunately, Adroit, they're going to have to win a lot more games to stand a chance to be in that upper half.
Well, John, we do have another series coming up very, very soon. It will be Reality Rift versus Neon Esports. And Neon Esports currently sitting at the bottom of their bracket, so they definitely want to try and pick up some wins. Unfortunately for them, they are versing arguably the hardest team in Reality Rift at the top of the bracket. So we'll see how all that pans out. Of course, it is MLP Dota and John X Fire. We'll see you guys very, very soon for that 3rd series of the day. Won't be too long.